who had graciously agreed, even when I first requested him to do the honors. The book itself has had a very checkered progress and history. It took almost 10 years to come out because of various disruptions. Disruptions caused by deaths in the family, illnesses, etc., etc. And when it was almost about to be finished, my secretary, who was with me in the Central Intelligentsia and also was my secretary when I was governor, he fell in the bathroom and passed away. So that took one more year for us to recover from the shock, thanks to the unstinting help given to me by Jayaprakash of Lok Satta. And when the book came out, COVID intervened, and that delayed matters further. So the book itself has had a checkered progress and checkered history. Why did I write this book? In fact, I had no ambition to write my memoir or autobiography at any point of time. In all my official career, I kept no notes, kept no diary. I kept no papers with me. I wrote it for two reasons. A couple of days before I demitted my office as governor in Tamil Nadu, the pressman asked me at a function whether I intended to write my autobiography. And very inadvertently, I said yes. Therefore, I had to keep that commitment. But more than that, in my career of more than 36 years, we all retired at the age of 58. Over 36 years, I wore many hats. Though I had only 13 assignments in my 36 and a half years career. And the hats I wore were all very diversified, in the sense that I held a variety of assignments. And I always think that fate ordained me to fulfill assignments which were not only critical, but which gave me a ringside seat to witness some of the epochal events in India's post-independence history. Many of these assignments, not many of my colleagues in the Indian Police Service or in the Indian Administrative Service would have had the fortune of fulfilling and seeing almost from close quarters what was happening both in the state of Andhra Pradesh and at Delhi. And when I completed my book and sent it to the publishers in Delhi, some of them very renowned publishers, they said that this story is all about Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu and not about Delhi. Therefore, while the book is interesting, we are passing the book, we are not publishing it. Ultimately, I found a publisher in Delhi who agreed to do the book. Why I am saying this is that Delhi, for all of us, Delhi is Duras, it's a long way. But for Delhi, everything other than Delhi is Zorus. They think it doesn't concern them. It's all not of any importance or interest. Now, in the various assignments I had fulfilled in my official career, I would enumerate 4 or 5 events of epochal significance. And for these reasons, I have written this book, so that even if people don't read my book, they will be on record as a part of post-independence history of India. And some researchers may stumble upon my book and come to know what happened in those days, in those years, and at those moments. One of these is a separate Telangana agitation, followed by the separate Andhra agitation. With pardonable pride, I think I can claim, perhaps I am one of the few who had a close ringside view both of what was happening here and what was happening in Delhi in those days, and why Telangana was not conceded in 1971, and Telangana had to wait till 2014. Many of the incidents that I was witness to and which I am briefly telling you now, they have changed the course of Indian history. And unfortunately, not many have even recognized, not to speak of appreciating those incidents. I will list 3 or 4, not many more because of limitations of time. The first one is, in 1969, excuse me, I just take it. In 1969, Neelam Sanjeev Reddy, coming from the United Andhra Pradesh, who was the first Chief Minister of United Andhra Pradesh, he was then the Lok Sabha Speaker. He was nominated as the official candidate of the Congress Party for the office of the President of India. And it looked as though it was a cockwalk for Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. But he lost to another Telugu, Sri V.V. Giri, in that election by a very, very narrow margin. And not many of you know that Sanjeev Reddy lost that election because his home state deserted him. For valid reasons, of course, for valid reasons each of their own. And why did Sanjeev Reddy lose? He lost because of a very off-guard and very casual remark he made in Hyderabad airport. If you read the book, my book, you will know all of that. The second one was in 1973, P.V. Narasimha Rao, another Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, was forced to step down and President's rule was imposed. Of course, I was one of the dramatis personae in that episode. But the course of Indian history has changed because of that event. Survived for more than 1 or 2 years as Chief Minister and perhaps might have gone into oblivion. But his stepping down as chief minister sent him to Delhi. And you know what P.V. Narasimha Rao did to this country. He has changed the course of Indian economic history. The third one is another chief minister, Sri Tanguturi Anjaya, with whom also I had great privilege to work as his intelligence head. You know, the popular story, popular law is that because he took a very large number of Congress workers to extend a warm welcome to Rajiv Gandhi, who was then the General Secretary of the Congress Party, at Begumpet Aerodrome, Rajiv Gandhi did not like Anjaya breaching the security protocol. In fact, at that time, there was no security protocol. There is nothing at all. We could all walk on the tarmac to the aeroplane and receive the VIPs. So there were no restrictions. But the belief is that because he took 200 or 300 people to extend a very warm welcome to Rajiv Gandhi, he was asked to step down as chief minister. That was not the true reason. If you read my book, you will know what the real reason of that is. And that was followed by the advent of a phenomenon called NTR on the national political scene. In fact, popularly, NTR's rise is attributed to Anjaya's fall. Everybody believes that, but that is not the reason. And the significance of NTR, though, I mean, a figure of great renown then and now, he had not a very long political tenure. His political tenure was a cameo of about 7.5 years. But the phenomenon that NTR was, he changed the course of Indian history. In fact, before NTR, Jyoti Basu, who was Chief Minister of West Bengal for how many years? For more than 20 years. And M. Karunanidhi, who was Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Of course, he was in and out, but he had 4 terms. They were already there fighting Delhi from the states. But they were not really fighting. Jyoti Basu was busy with organizing revolutions all over the state and in his own state. And do you know where West Bengal has reached because of all those revolutions? Today it's one of the poorest states in the country. And Karunanidhi of the DMK was busy courting Delhi. He never went against Delhi in any of his tenures. It was only NTR who said, Delhi is not only Durast. Delhi, that is the government of India, the central government, as they called in those days, is a myth. It is a myth without the states. And states should get their due. And it is he who really organized the National Front and provided an alternative to the Congress party. And you know the history thereafter. Then there is all that also you will read in my book, because I was quite a close witness to many of the events, including his ouster for 1 month as the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. And I have narrated all that happened at that point of time in the book. Then the last one, Abdul Kalam became the President of India. He was a surprise candidate. He almost came on the scene at the last minute, at the 23rd hour, if I may say so. How did Kalam become President of India? He was not one of the original candidates. And he became a candidate because of what Andhra Pradesh, including Telangana and Tamil Nadu, did. You will read again all that in my book. It was Jayalalitha and Chandrababu Naidu who ensured that Abdul Kalam became president. So it surprised me when these three publishers in Delhi said that this book is only meant for Andhra Pradesh and not for the reading of Indian public. It surprised me a great deal. It also hurt my ego, but then I found a publisher from Delhi itself. Again, with pardonable pride, I would like to mention to all of you that my book contains a very detailed account, almost blow-by-blow account of the Telangana and Andhra agitations, which were precursors to the formation of Telangana in 2014. I think it's the most authentic account because I saw what was going on in Delhi and what was happening here. My book essentially is of two parts. One is political and the other is professional. So I've so far dealt with the political aspects of the memoir. Now coming to the professional aspects, I've recounted a number of events and incidents which happened in my tour of duty as an assistant superintendent of police, as a superintendent of police, as DIG intelligence, and as Director General of Police of Andhra Pradesh. I have narrated these incidents in some detail, which made the book very long, for the reason that my successors and my colleagues for coming generations in the Indian Police Service, if they happen to read this book, they will gain some insights on how law and order is maintained, how crime is investigated, and what are the pitfalls, and what are the difficulties. And that is the reason why I wrote all of them. I would like to mention in this context some popular myths which I try to break in my professional account. One of that is that police are trigger happy and they resort to force at the stroke of the minute or the second. It is not true. No policeman ever wants to use force to tackle any situation. For I have recounted a number of incidents to show where force has to be used and where we completely eschewed the use of force to ensure that things passed off peacefully. If you read the book, you will know all those incidents and how those incidents had been handled. Similarly, I had also recounted a number of interesting cases of crime investigation. To make the point, I've narrated these incidents to make the point and to break a popular myth now that arrest is the most important point, most important step in an investigation of a crime. Arrest is the least important factor in the investigation of any crime. And if you read these incidents in the book, you will appreciate why I have stated so and argued. Now, I also devoted a chapter to my tenure as Governor Tamil Nadu, which though was cut short because of my self-respect, had many interesting episodes. All of them have been narrated in the book. But I would refer to one what I would say, a point of great interest, a matter of great interest today. And that is, we are witnessing in many states how the chief ministers are locked in conflict with their governors. Now, I also had this problem when I started my governorship. But I somehow managed to handle. And during my entire tenure, we had the smoothest relationship between me and Jayalalitha, considered to be a very difficult chief minister in those days. In fact, I mentioned to the chief minister, in the debate of governors versus chief ministers, I am on the side of the chief minister. And I am reiterating it. As I almost finished my book, the thought occurred to me that I should do some reflections based on my experience, both at the political level and at the professional level. So I wrote almost a postscript, a long chapter, in which I dealt with a couple of thorny, burning, and ever-festering issues. And I would also briefly like to touch upon them. I wrote a subchapter on caste in politics. Today, caste is dictating Indian politics, unfortunately. When the founding fathers drafted the Constitution, the Constitution was entirely drafted. People think that Ambedkar drafted the Indian Constitution. No. Ambedkar played a major role in the drafting of the Indian Constitution. But people like Sardar Patel, K. Munshi, Benegal Narsingh Rao, many others, they had a very involved role in the drafting of the Constitution. And one of the cornerstones of the Constitution is that there shall be no discrimination on the basis of religion, community, caste, or creed. But we are going in the opposite direction. So I thought I should write about caste in politics and my own experiences as a civil servant. And I can tell you, if you are a civil servant, particularly from the All India services, and you are serving in your own home state, it is a very difficult proposition. Every decision that you take, it is examined on the touchstone of which caste you belong to. And you belong to one of the local castes, then this guy has taken this decision because he wanted to favor X, Y, or Z. I've narrated a few incidents in the course of my book about how I had to handle these very delicate issues. In fact, even with ministers and chief ministers. In fact, even the ministers with whom I had tiffs, they all became chief ministers later. Then I also touched on a subject which is very not complicated, which is delicate and controversial. and is political interference in governance. You know, particularly the chappies belonging to the IAS and the IPS, working in the states, they ever complain and grumble that there is too much of political interference in this work. In fact, in my view, political interference is an oxymoron. Politicians are the masters. They are the people who govern the states, not civil servants. Civil servants only assist them. Again, I'm on your side, sir. In fact, as one of my junior colleagues is here, I think, MCRHRD Reddy, used to tell me, in fact, I put it in my book, many of us in the IAS, particularly the IAS, more in the IAS than the IPS, they think that we have to rescue the country from the hands of the politicians, which is not true. Politicians, if you enter politics and spend 5 or 6 years, you will know how difficult it is to be a politician. In fact, our respected Chief Minister is almost 40 minutes late because of his political problems. We should all appreciate that. For I've analyzed it in detail and pointed out how it is a wrong concept and an oxymoron to think that politicians interfere in the governance. They are elected to govern the state, and we are appointed to assist them and not to put spokes in the wheels and obstruct their policies and all that. Then I also had touched upon policing. You know, policing, other than the medical profession, is perhaps the most difficult profession in the country, all over the world. Not often realized. In fact, if you don't maintain peace and stability, if you don't work for the rule of law, there is no economic growth, there is no prosperity in any country, in any state. And the responsibility for maintaining peace, upholding the rule of law, is the responsibility of the police. And therefore, I've briefly touched upon the problems of the police, which you may all like to. When you read, if and when you read, I hope you will all appreciate. I also touched upon the functions of intelligence, because in my career I had spent 15 years in intelligence work in all. Intelligence is another, people think that we are all James Bonds. We are not James Bonds. It is a very, very unappetizing and very sort of grinding task, and not appreciated by many people. In fact, and often there is this accusation in the press, particularly in the press, and also by the opposition parties, that intelligence only watches the opposition parties. It is not true. Today's opposition party is tomorrow the party in government. Till yesterday, Congress was in opposition. Today they are in government. So we will not say that we won't study the Congress when they are in opposition, and we won't study the BRS because they are in the government. And then when BRS goes into the opposition and Congress comes into the governance, we can't suddenly find sources of information. For I've analyzed all that in the book. Now, also, I have many of those who had worked with me for long years, who had spent the midnight oil and faced many difficult situations in the AP State Road Transport Corporation. They are all here. And I have spent a considerable amount of space and time on writing my experiences in the Road Transport Corporation and how trade unionism is a major factor in managing public utilities and public business enterprises. For it is a diversified account of a number of fields of human endeavor and human activity, and therefore I am extremely happy that our Chief Minister has found the time to come here and spend some time and agree to release the book. And one more word, and I will close. Sri Rangaya Naidu, who has agreed to preside over this meeting, was the last IPS officer to have been allotted to what was then the state of Andhra. He was the last allottee. I was the first IPS officer to have been allotted to Andhra Pradesh. Of course, Andhra and Telangana, part of Hyderabad state, united to become Andhra Pradesh. And we spent, as I said, nearly 60 and odd years together and bore the good times and the bad times with equal stoicity and equanimity. And apart from me, he is the only other IPS officer from United Andhra Pradesh and Telangana to have held a constitutional office. He was a Minister of State in the Government of India in P.V. Narasimha Rao's cabinet. And I am very thankful to him, in spite of his handicaps, physical handicaps, to have agreed to come and preside over this function. And now I hand over the mic to the President of the function. Thank you very much.
ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. 69 సంవత్సరాల తమరి సుదీర్ఘమైన సార్ అక్కడికి కూర్చొని మాట్లాడమని అడ్వైజ్ చేస్తున్నాను ఆంజనేయ రెడ్డి గారు. కూర్చొని మాట్లాడమని ఆంజనేయ రెడ్డి గారు అడ్వైజ్ ఐజీ ప్రొవిజనింగ్ అండ్ లాజిస్టిక్స్.
Honorable Chief Minister Telangana, Sri Revanth Reddy garu, my colleague Mr. Rama Mohan Rao, the DGP Mr. Ravi Gupta, and Director of the Institute Mr. Goyal, and my previous colleagues who have come in a large number, and other guests. Mr. Rama Mohan Rao came to my house and he requested me to preside over the meeting, as I am the senior most IPS officer surviving. Actually, myself and Rama Mohan Rao have a unique position in IPS cadre, because in those days, very few Telugu-speaking IPS officers or IAS officers are getting recruited into all the services. Mr. M. Narayan Rao was selected for IPS in 1948. That is first batch of IPS officers after independence. After that, there was nobody from coastal Andhra. There was one from Rayalaseema and another from Hyderabad state, Mr. Krishnamacharlu and Mr. Mahendra Reddy. So in that situation, I got selected to IPS 1955 up to gap of 7 years in coastal Andhra. So, and next year, Mr. Rama Mohan Rao got selected, breaking that sort of filling up the gap. So we, myself and Rama Mohan Rao occupied in the cadre one more other. Rama Mohan Rao was a distinguished career as an IPS officer, as a police officer, as an intelligence officer. He spent about 5 years in the state after recruitment and moved to Government of India to join the Intelligence Bureau. He was also settlement officer of Hyderabad and held several posts which are really important and strategic. And he was playing important roles in the political development of the country as well as the state. He returned to the state in 1969 after a gap of 16 years and joined as CIE Intelligence. I was then Transport Commissioner, and Tamil Nadu was Chief Minister. Then Sanjay was trustee after the, and he suggested that Ram may go to APSRD. Ram really agreed because he was not happy with the intelligence force because he had been in intelligence throughout his career practically. So he joined APSRD and did a good job there. Then he moved to the post of Director General of Vigilance and Enforcement. And there also he made a mark. Finally, in 1987, after retirement of Sajji Saldana of 53rd batch, he was made the DGP, of course bypassing 4 seniors, including myself. But I had no grouse because I was not the next senior most. Above me there were 3 officers, Mr. Subramaniam, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Sushil Kumar. So I was Director General of Prisons at that time. So I was quite happy with my posting and had no grudge. And I was very happy that my colleague Ram Mohan has become the DGP of the state. And he has done excellent job. But then, unfortunate development in the Vijayawada politics resulted in some unwarranted consequences. There was a war between 2 mafia groups in Vijayawada at that time. One headed by P.S.Rama Mohan Rao and his brother Mohan Ranga, other by Nehru family. That is Nehru's brother and his, and though they are mafias, they took the caste sort of base, saying that Mohan Ranga was supporting Kapus and Nehru was supporting Kamas. But actually, it is only out of guys. It is not nothing to do with community. It was simple mafia gang politics. Then the situation has become a little sensitive, and there were series of murder cases in which both some people of this way, some people that were murdered also. Nearly about 4 or 5 people have been killed during that period. And the situation was developing into a flashpoint. Ram Mohan Rao suggested that about 1,000 people from each side to be detained under PD Act. So he told the SP to get the PD Act, it is order from collector. And so the SP Girish Kumar, he sent the report to the collector, but collector was reluctant to the order because one side belonged to the ruling party. So he wanted clearance from Chief Minister. Then SP spoke to Ram Mohan Rao, and Ram Mohan Rao met the Chief Minister and told him. The CM promised to speak, but he never spoke to the collector, and unfortunately this has led to the plus point of being Mohan Manga being murdered by the opposite group, and that resulted in a big holocaust in the coastal districts, where crores of worth of property was burnt. Unfortunately, of course, not many lives have been lost, except one doctor who was killed. And it has spread for really for a couple of days. And unfortunately, at the time, the police force was not available, sufficient available near Vijayawada. So Ramon got from various places and even from outside the state and controlled the situation practically within 48 hours. But the political parties, including Congress and others, were blaming the police and indirectly Mr. Rama Mohan Rao that he could not act properly and resulted in this holocaust. Then Ram Mohan offered to quit to Chief Minister N.T. Rama Rao. But N.T. Rama Rao told him to wait, and ultimately this happened in December 26, 27, 1988. And 89 February, ultimately, Ram Mohan was transferred as chairman of Alvin Metal Works, Hyderabad, the government concern. And the rest of the period, he was working there for some long time and retired from there. So, another thing is, another important landmark in his career is to become the governor of an important state. Ram Mohan really felt insulted because he was removed from the EGP post halfway. He still had about 3 years to go. And he was actually trying to get his redeem, his respect, his self-respect redeemed, because he was unhappy that he had to leave the post under circumstances which beyond his control, for which he says, no, he is not at all responsible, but still he paid the price. So, ultimately, after 10 years of retirement, he became governor of Tamil Nadu with the help of political leaders at that time when Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India. And everybody thought that Mohan Rao and Jayalalitha will quarrel because both of them are the same temperament. There is really strong-willed persons who could pursue their whatever they think right to the extent of even quitting the post. So, but contrary to the expectations, Ram Mohan Rao managed very well with Jayalalitha ji, and 2 years have passed. With the opposition party, DMK, was not happy with Ram Mohan Rao because they felt that he is strengthening Jayalalitha's hands, and whatever she wanted, he is doing. Something like that. They created a story, and then they wanted the removal. But at that time, it could not happen. But in 2004, in the parliament elections, Congress came back to power, a center, and the DMK, which was the LA, got 40 seats, 40 MPs seats out of 42 in Tamil Nadu. So with the strength of 40 MPs, they put pressure on the government and wanted him to be removed. But there is no process to remove a governor unless an allegation some corruption or whatever it is. But the government of India could not resist pressure from DMK, and ultimately తెలుగులో సామెత ఉంది, పొమ్మలు లేక పొగబెట్టారని. దట్ ఈస్ సో he was transferred to Nagaland. But Nagaland is a very small state. It is probably the size of a couple of districts of Tamil Nadu. So Ramon did not want to go there, and he told them, if you want to shift me, you can shift me to any state neighboring to Andhra, because I have a family problems and look after my old parents, my mother and all my son. So, but government of India, under pressure from then Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister, and Shivraj Patil was the Home Minister. They did not publish him, and ultimately Ramon resigned from governorship and go to Nagaland. That is Rammohan. He is the man who stood by his whatever it is principles, and a very strong-willed person. I wish him long life and happy and prosperous years to come. Thank you.
ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. మీరిద్దరూ సుదీర్ఘంగా ప్రజాసేవలో ఉన్నారు. 69 మరియు 70 సంవత్సరాల సర్వీస్, మీరు సర్వీస్లో చేరి ఈ రోజుకి 69-70 సంవత్సరాలు అవుతోంది. ఇదే వేదికపై శ్రీ రంగయ్య నాయుడు గారు రచించినటువంటి వారి ఆటోబయోగ్రఫీ ఎ యూత్ క్వెస్ట్ ఎలీట్ ఫోర్స్ టు నేషనల్ పాలిటిక్స్ అనే పుస్తకాన్ని సెప్టెంబర్ 22, 2022 సంవత్సరంలో ఇదే వేదికపై మా పూర్వ డీజీపీ మహేందర్ రెడ్డి గారి చేతుల మీదుగా ఆవిష్కరించడం జరిగింది. మళ్ళీ అదే వేదికపై వారికి 1 year జూనియర్ అయినటువంటి రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారి రచించిన పుస్తకాన్ని ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారి చేతుల మీదుగా రిలీజ్ చేయించుకోవడానికి అవకాశం రావడం ఐపీఎస్ సర్వీస్కి దక్కిన గౌరవం అని భావిస్తున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు గౌరవ ముఖ్య అతిథి గారి చేతుల మీదుగా పుస్తక ఆవిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమం. చేసి ఓపెన్ చేసి గౌరవనీయులైన ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇప్పుడు సభను ఉద్దేశించి గౌరవ ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని సార్.
My publisher, though he had agreed to publish a book which was declined by 3 others, he seems to be a smart businessman. He has put it on Amazon for sale, and bookshops nowhere display this book. So if any of you want to read, you will have to order it on Amazon for sale. Thank you.
గౌరవ ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని సభను ఉద్దేశించి ప్రసంగించవలసిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను.
మాజీ డీజీపీ, మాజీ గవర్నర్ పెద్దలు రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారు రచించిన పుస్తక ఆవిష్కరణ కార్యక్రమానికి నాతో పాటు ముఖ్య అతిథులుగా విచ్చేసిన ఐపీఎస్ ఆఫీసర్, మాజీ కేంద్ర మంత్రిగా పనిచేసిన పివి రంగయ్య నాయుడు గారు, వేదిక మీద తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర డీజీపీ రవిగుప్తా గారు, ఇతర అధికారులు, ఇక్కడ చాలామంది ఎమినెంట్ పర్సనాలిటీస్, ఐఏఎస్, ఐపీఎస్గా, డీజీపీలుగా, చీఫ్ సెక్రటరీస్గా వివిధ హోదాలలో రాష్ట్రానికి, దేశానికి సేవలు అందించి ఈరోజు రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారి పుస్తక ఆవిష్కరణలో మీరందరూ పాల్గొనడం, ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి నన్ను ముఖ్య అతిథిగా వారు ఆహ్వానించడం ఒక మంచి అవకాశంగా, మిమ్మల్ని అందరినీ కలవడానికి నాకు ఇది ఒక మంచి సందర్భం అని నేను భావిస్తున్నాను. ఇక్కడ వేదిక మీద ఉన్నవాళ్ళు కానీ అక్కడ ఆసీనులైన వాళ్ళు స్వాతంత్ర సమరాన్ని చూసిండ్రు, తెలంగాణ సాయుధ రైతాంగ పోరాటాన్ని చూసిండ్రు, అదేవిధంగా హైదరాబాద్ రాష్ట్ర అవతరణ పరిపాలన చూసిండ్రు, ఉమ్మడి ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ 2 రాష్ట్రాల కలయికతో ఏర్పడ్డ ఉమ్మడి ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ రాష్ట్ర పరిపాలన చూసిండ్రు, 69 తెలంగాణ ఉద్యమం, 72లో జయాంధ్ర ఉద్యమం, మళ్ళీ 96లో రెండవసారి తెలంగాణ ఉద్యమం, అదేవిధంగా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర అవతరణ. దాదాపుగా ఈ 76 సంవత్సరాలలో జరిగిన వివిధ పరిణామ క్రమాలను అన్నింటినీ అవగాహన చేసుకొని అనుభవం ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఇక్కడికి రావడం ఇది ఒక మంచి సందర్భం. తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని, ముఖ్యంగా తెలంగాణ పోలీస్ అధికారులు ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ఏర్పాటు చేయడాన్ని వారిని మనస్ఫూర్తిగా నేను అభినందిస్తున్నాను. ఇన్ని కాలాలలో జరిగిన ఎన్నో అనుభవాలతో కూడుకున్న పెద్దలందరినీ ఒక దగ్గరికి రప్పించడం అనేది అంత ఆషామాషిగా జరిగే విషయం కాదు. రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారి పుస్తక ఆవిష్కరణలో ఇంతమంది రావడం అంటే వారి పట్ల ఉన్న మీకు మనందరికీ ఉన్న గౌరవం, అదేవిధంగా వారి అనుభవంలో ఈ రోజుకి మనందరికీ వారు చెప్పాలనుకున్న విషయాలు ఈరోజు ఇక్కడ మనందరం పంచుకోవడం అనేది ఒక మంచి అవకాశం. నాయకులకు పరిమితులు ఉంటాయి, ఎందుకంటే నాకు ముఖ్యంగా ఆ పుస్తకంలో ఏముందో నాకు తెలీదు. రచయిత గారు ఏం రాసినా అది వారి అభిప్రాయమే, నా అభిప్రాయం అయితే కాదు. వారి అభిప్రాయంతో ఏకీభవించవచ్చు, నేను విభేదించవచ్చు. ఆ పుస్తకాన్ని మొత్తం చదివిన తర్వాతనే నేను చెప్పగలను. ఎందుకంటే వారు ఉన్నతాధికారిగా, గవర్నర్గా, ముఖ్యంగా కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీని దగ్గర నుంచి పరిశీలించి రాసిన చాలా అంశాలు, ప్రస్తావించిన అంశాలు అందులో ఉండొచ్చు. మేబీ కాంట్రవర్సీస్, లేకపోతే డిస్క్రీట్ ఆర్ ఇండిస్క్రీట్, అందులో ఏముందో నాకు తెలీదు. ఏదేమైనా తెలుగు వాళ్ళ ప్రభావము, తెలుగు భాష మీద పట్టున్న వాళ్ళు కానీ, జాతీయ రాజకీయాలలో మన యొక్క పాత్ర కాలక్రమేణా తగ్గుతూ వస్తుంది. ఇది మనందరం నిశ్చితంగా గమనించాల్సిన అంశం. నాడు సంజీవరెడ్డి గారు, పివి నరసింహారావు గారు, ఎన్టీ రామారావు గారు జాతీయ రాజకీయాలలో వారి ప్రభావాన్ని చూపించడమే కాకుండా జాతీయ రాజకీయాలను శాసించే స్థాయికి మన తెలుగు బిడ్డలుగా వాళ్ళు రాణించడం మనందరికీ గర్వకారణం. వారి తరం తర్వాత మళ్ళీ జైపాల్ రెడ్డి గారు, వెంకయ్య నాయుడు గారు ఒక స్థాయి వరకు నిలబెట్టే ప్రయత్నం చేశారు. ఈరోజు మేము ఎప్పుడైనా ఢిల్లీకి వెళ్తే అసలు ఎవరిని కలవాలనో, ఎవరు మన వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారో, ఏదైనా అంశం రాష్ట్రానికి సంబంధించిందో, మన ప్రాంతానికి సంబంధించిందో, జాతీయ స్థాయిలో ఏదైనా అంశాన్ని ప్రస్తావించాలన్నా పార్లమెంటరీ వ్యవస్థలో మాట్లాడే వాళ్ళు కానీ, లేకపోతే మేము వెళ్ళి కలిసి ఏదైనా విజ్ఞప్తి చేద్దామన్నా అక్కడ ఎవరు కనిపించడం లేదు, వినిపించడం లేదు. ఇది డెఫినెట్గా రాను రాను మన గుర్తింపు, మన గౌరవానికి సంబంధించిన అంశంగా మారుతుందేమని నేను ఆలోచన చేస్తున్నా. దీనికి మరి ప్రధానంగా ఫుల్ టైం పొలిటీషియన్స్ లేకపోవడము, పార్ట్ టైం పాలిటిక్స్, ఫుల్ టైం బిజినెస్ చేసే వాళ్ళు రాజకీయాలకు రావడం వల్ల జరుగుతుందో ఇది నాకు తెలీదు. భాషా భావము అసలు ఒకటి ఉంటుంది అనేది కూడా రాజకీయాలలో చర్చించుకోవడం చాలా ఆశ్చర్యంగా ఉండే పరిస్థితులు వచ్చినాయి. ఈరోజు జరుగుతున్న పరిణామాలు ముఖ్యంగా 2 తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాలలో కొన్ని ప్రత్యేకమైన పరిస్థితుల్లో కొన్ని అంశాలు కొన్ని పరిణామాలు జరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి. ఇవి మన మనుగడకు కానీ మన గుర్తింపుకు కానీ దేశ రాజకీయాలలో తెలుగు భాషకు ఈ ప్రాంతం నుంచి వచ్చే నాయకులకు ఏమాత్రం ప్రయోజనం చేకూర్చదు. మీలాంటి వాళ్ళు మీ అనుభవాలతో జరుగుతున్న పరిణామాల మీద ఎక్కడో ఒక దగ్గర ప్రస్తావించాల్సిన అవసరం ఉందని నేను భావిస్తున్నా. మీరందరూ ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ వేదిక మీద ఉన్న చాలామంది నా వయసు కంటే ఎక్కువ అనుభవం ఉన్న వాళ్ళు చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. ఇక్కడ ఉన్న అధికారులు చాలామంది 69-70 ఇయర్స్. ఇప్పుడు పివి రంగయ్య నాయుడు గారికి 91 ఇయర్స్, రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారికి 90 ఇయర్స్. నాకంటే కొంచెం యాక్టివ్గా నడుస్తూ వస్తుంటే రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారు వారు ఇంకా యంగ్ ఎట్ హార్ట్. వారు అంటే ఇంకా ఏమంటారు షార్ప్ టంగ్తో వారు మాట్లాడినారు. అంటే వారు రాజకీయాలకు రాకపోవడం కొంచెం మేలైనట్టుంది. గవర్నర్గా వెళ్ళిండ్రు. ఎందుకంటే వారికి లైన్ అండ్ లెంత్ భాష మీద భావం మీద మంచి పట్టు ఉంది. డెఫినెట్గా ఆ బుక్కు పొలిటికల్ సస్పెన్స్ థ్రిల్లర్ అవుతుందేమని నేను అనుకుంటున్నా. వారు ప్రస్తావించిన అంశాలు అందులో చూడండి లేకపోతే చదవండి అని చెప్తున్నారంటే మీ అందరితో నా మనవి ఒక్కటే. రాష్ట్రము, రాష్ట్ర ఏర్పాటు, జరిగిన పరిణామాలు, దాని వెనకాల ఉన్న నేపథ్యాలు ఇవన్నీ కూడా నేనేం పెద్దగా చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, మీకు అందరికీ లోతుగా తెలుసు. ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ మనం అందరం మన వాళ్ళుగా మనందరం కలిసి మళ్ళీ ప్రయాణం మొదలు పెట్టాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది, రాణించాల్సిన అవసరం ఉందని నేను బలంగా నమ్ముతున్నా. అందుకే పద్మవిభూషణ్ వచ్చినా పద్మశ్రీ అవార్డులు వచ్చినా మన వాళ్ళకు వస్తే రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం తరఫున వాళ్ళని గౌరవించడానికి అధికారికంగా మేము ముందుకు వచ్చినాం. ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో కూడా నేను రామ్మోహన్ రావు గారు పుస్తకావిష్కరణ అంటే మా అధికారులకు ఆదేశాలు ఇవ్వడమే కాకుండా ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో నేను పాల్గొన్నది మళ్ళీ మనందరం కూర్చొని కలిసి మాట్లాడి ఏ విధంగా ముందుకు వెళ్ళాలి. 5 ట్రిలియన్ ఎకానమీ అని కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం చెప్తున్న దాంట్లో 5 ట్రిలియన్ ఎకానమీలో మనం ఎట్లుండాలి, మన పాత్ర ఏముండాలి, అదేవిధంగా ఈ దేశ రాజకీయాలలో మన నిర్ణయం మన పాత్ర. దేశంలోనే 2వ అత్యధికంగా మాట్లాడే భాష తెలుగు భాష. హిందీ తర్వాత చాలామంది బెంగాల్ అనుకుంటారు, కాదు తెలుగు తర్వాతనే బెంగాల్. సో మరి జాతీయ స్థాయిలో మన భాష 2వ స్థానంలో ఉన్నప్పుడు రాజకీయాలలో కూడా మనం ఆ విధమైన ప్రభావం చూపించాల్సిన పరిస్థితుల్లో అధికారిక నిర్ణయాలలో మనం భాగస్వాములుగా ఉండాలి. ఒకప్పుడు రాష్ట్రపతి పదవి ఉత్తర భారతదేశానికి ఇస్తే ప్రధానమంత్రి ఇక్కడ ఉండేది. అటువైపు నుంచి ప్రధానమంత్రి ఉంటే ఇటువైపు నుంచి తప్పకుండా రాష్ట్రపతి పదవులు ఉండేది. దట్ ఈస్ హౌ వీ హ్యావ్ గాట్ సో మెనీ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ యాజ్ ఎ ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా. ఎప్పుడు అదొక ఈక్వేషన్ కింద ఉండేది. ఇదే కాకుండా ఫస్ట్ 5 పోర్ట్ఫోలియోస్లో డిఫెన్స్ కావచ్చు, హోమ్ కావచ్చు, ఫినాన్స్ కావచ్చు, రూరల్ అండ్ అర్బన్ డెవలప్మెంట్ కావచ్చు, ఇట్లాంటి ఇంపార్టెంట్ పోర్ట్ఫోలియోస్లో 5-6లో ఖచ్చితంగా 3 పోర్ట్ఫోలియోస్ సౌత్ నుంచి రిప్రజెంట్ చేసేది. దట్ ఈజ్ హౌ ఇప్పుడు ఆల్వేస్ దే యూస్ టు బ్యాలెన్స్ థింగ్స్. కానీ ఈరోజు ఆ రకమైన పరిస్థితులు లేవు. ఎవరో ఎక్కడో ఒకరు క్యాబినెట్ మినిస్టర్ ఉన్నారా, ఉంటే వాళ్ళకి ఏం పోర్ట్ఫోలియో ఉందని మనం వెతికి చూసుకునే పరిస్థితులు ఈరోజు వచ్చినాయి. దీనికి కారణం ఏందో, దీనికి పరిష్కారం ఏందో కూడా మీలాంటి అనుభవజ్ఞులు, రాజకీయ స్వార్థం లేకుండా ఆలోచన చేయగలిగిన వాళ్ళు మీరు సూచన చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉన్నదని నేను భావిస్తున్నా. జాతీయ రాజకీయాలకు వచ్చినప్పుడు ఏ విధంగా ఆలోచన చేయాలి, ప్రాంతీయ అంశాలు వచ్చినప్పుడు ఏ విధమైన నిర్ణయాలు తీసుకోవాలనో కూడా మనకు విచక్షణ ఉండాలి. ఆ విధంగా ముందుకు వెళ్ళాలి. మీలాంటి అనుభవజ్ఞుల నుంచి మా ప్రభుత్వం తప్పకుండా సూచనలు తీసుకుంటుంది. మా ప్రభుత్వానికి భేషజాలు లేవు. ఏదైనా మీ అనుభవము ఈ రాష్ట్రాన్ని ముందుకు నడిపించడంలో, అభివృద్ధి చేయడంలో, అదేవిధంగా దేశ రాజకీయాలలో అవసరమైన పాత్ర పోషించడానికి మన వాళ్ళు ఎవరైనా, ఒకే ఒక ఉదాహరణ నేను చెప్పగలను. ఆనాడు పివి నరసింహారావు గారి దేశ ప్రధానమంత్రిగా వారికి అవకాశం వచ్చినప్పుడు వారు నంద్యాలలో పోటీ చేస్తా అంటే ఎన్టీ రామారావు గారు ఒక తెలుగు బిడ్డ ప్రధానమంత్రి అవుతున్నాడు, ఎన్నికల్లో నేను పోటీ పెట్టదలుచుకోలేదు అని ఒక గౌరవించి ప్రధాన ప్రతిపక్ష పార్టీ ఎన్టీ రామారావు గారు ఆ ఎన్నికల్లో పివి నరసింహారావు గారిని ఏకగ్రీవం చేసేదానికి ప్రయత్నం చేసిండ్రు. అంటే రాజకీయాలలో అప్పుడప్పుడు మన యొక్క ఉనికి మనుగడను మన యొక్క గౌరవాన్ని నిలబెట్టుకోవడానికి ఒక మంచి సాంప్రదాయాన్ని పాటించడంలో తప్పు లేదు అని నేను భావిస్తున్నా. ఈరోజు మా ప్రభుత్వం కూడా అలాంటి మంచి సాంప్రదాయాలు ఏవున్నా ఖచ్చితంగా మీ అనుభవాల నుంచి మాకు సూచన చేస్తే వాటిని పాటించడానికి మా రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం, మేము, మా మంత్రివర్గ సహచరులు అందరూ సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నారు. ఇప్పుడు మనందరం మళ్ళీ కలిసికట్టుగా ఆలోచన, రాష్ట్రాలుగా విడిపోయిన మనుషులుగా మనం కలిసి ఉండాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. భౌగోళిక తెలంగాణ ఏర్పడ్డది, పరిపాలనా సౌలభ్యం కోసం రాష్ట్రం ఏర్పడ్డది, భావోద్వేగాలతో ఉన్న తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం ఏర్పడ్డది. ఇప్పుడు ఇంకా అభివృద్ధి పదం వైపు నడిపించాల్సిన తెలంగాణ అభివృద్ధిని మన ప్రజలకు చేరవేయాల్సిన బాధ్యత మా మీద ఉన్నది. తప్పకుండా ఆ దిశగా ఏ సహకారమైనా మీ వైపు నుంచి మీ అనుభవాన్ని మాకేదైనా మా ఆఫీస్ కానీ మా సెక్రటేరియట్ కానీ ఎప్పుడూ అందుబాటులో ఉంటుంది. చాలా వరకు ఈ మధ్యలో మీరే చూస్తుంటారు జరుగుతున్న ఈ 75-80 రోజుల పరిపాలనలో తీసుకుంటున్న నిర్ణయాలు కానీ ఇవి సరిపోతాయంటే నాకు కూడా తెలుసు. కాకపోతే చేయగలిగిన ప్రయత్నం, సిన్సియర్ ఎఫర్ట్స్ పెట్టాలనేదే మా ప్రయత్నం. ఇందులో మీరందరూ సహకరించాల్సిందిగా, పెద్దలందరినీ ఆశీర్వదించాల్సిందిగా కోరుకుంటూ మీ అందరి దగ్గర సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను.
ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. ఇప్పుడు వందన సమర్పణ తెలంగాణ డీజీపీ శ్రీ రవిగుప్తా గారు.
It's my privilege and honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Telangana State Police and my personal behalf. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries, my senior officers, my gurus, and all other guests who have taken time and they are here for this function. We are truly honored to have Shri Ram Mohan Rao Garu, who has written this book, which I am sure will serve as a piece of motivation for all the young IPS officers in the cadre. Sir has narrated some incidents from his experience, political experience, and professional experience, and others sensitive incidents also. I am sure all the police officers in the state would be benefited by his experiences, because experience can never be taught, and to learn from his rich experience will be it will be a matter of great honor and pride for all of us. Sir, with your permission, I would like to procure these books and provide to all the IPS officers of the state so that they can they can use them for their benefit. Sir, 2 days back, when you had presented me this book, I had gone through 2 chapters. Sir, I can say it's just not a literary creation. It's a journey of emotions, knowledge, and inspiration for all of us. The 2 chapters which you wanted me to read through, they were really wonderful, and in fact, it was a delight to go through them. Thank you, sir, for writing this book and giving it to all of us for guidance. I would like to thank the president of the function, Shri Rangaya Naidu Garu, for taking time, despite all the problems which we know, he could take time and be with us for this function. And above all, the chief guest of this function, despite his busy and hectic schedule, our Honorable CM, he could take time out and be with us for this function. I would also like to thank the Director General, MCRHRD Institute, who was gracious enough to provide this auditorium and other facilities and the logistic support to us for organizing this function. I am also grateful to the print media and audiovisual media for being here and covering this function. Last but not the least, I want to thank each one of you in the audience for taking time out and being with us on this Sunday evening and making this function a grand success. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
కార్యక్రమం తర్వాత ఆడిటోరియం బయట ఉన్న లాంజ్లో తేనీటి విందుకి రావాల్సిందిగా పోలీస్ శాఖ తరఫు నుంచి కోరుతున్నాను.